I've been sending back videos of his workouts, and they're very, very impressive. So we're excited to get him back on the field. He's a great team guy. He's a terrific player, and he's one of the best people that I've been around in professional football.
TCL is a proud sponsor of the Score North Studios. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Reckless speculation. Reckless speculation.
Reckless speculation.
And welcome to a Reckless Speculation Thursday edition of Mackey and Judd. Gentlemen, we played that clip off the top. It was Mike Zimmer in his sort of like mid-off-season, pre-draft press conference. Let's get our guy in here, Darren Doogie Wolfson from the Scoop Podcast, which you can find on ScoreNorth.com, Apple, and Spotify. Inside information about your favorite local sports teams. He's also part of the 5 Eyewitness News sports teams. So, Doogie, I mean, you came on this show and you reported that Mike Zimmer and Danielle Hunter had a conversation. I can tell, based on my poker background, when someone touches their face in the middle of a sentence, it means that they might be lying. And when Mike Zimmer said, I haven't talked to him at all. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but Andre's been talking to him, and he's been sending all these videos over. Is that Mike Zimmer saying, Doogie, you were wrong, and you don't know what I do in my personal life? Or what did you make of him essentially going out of his way to say, I haven't talked to Danielle Hunter. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Good morning, gentlemen. Happy opening day. Happy April Fool's Day. Is it possible that the person who told me that lied to me? Yes, that happens in this business, right? Is it also possible that Mike Zimmer doesn't always tell us the truth? Go back many months. A tweak, right? It was a tweak. Nothing more than that with Danielle Hunter going back to when August, right? So we're not always told exactly what is taking place. I still stick by everything else I said. Whether it was Zim and Hunter directly communicating, maybe it was just text messages, Andre Patterson and Hunter surely communicating, that the Vikings know, A, they need to take care of him, and B, I foresee that eventually happening, and C, I'll add, I don't foresee a scenario, at least right now, where the Vikings trade Danielle Hunter. I see Danielle Hunter as a member of the Vikings. On those videos, Danielle has been training down in the Scottsdale, Arizona area at Exos. Ellerson Smith is a Minneapolis South kid. He's from Northern Iowa. He's a draft prospect. I've been talking to him. He told me, because he trains down there, that Danielle looks fantastic. Others who train at Exos have said, no surprise. I mean, he's put some of the pictures on his Instagram, some of his social media accounts. I mean, he's Herculean, right? I mean, he's Hercules, right? I mean, just the way he is put together. I mean, as physically put together as any NFL player there is. So he looks great, and I see him helping the Vikings defense here in 2021.
I think it's probably fair to say that whoever talked to him from the Vikings told him, don't be so upset. We'll take care of you. We'll try and get you a little bit more for 2020, Dukes, but we'll certainly readjust your contract accordingly. And so that's the key. I mean, if you talk to Mike or not, that's fine. Who cares? I think the most important thing is he was basically told, calm down. It's going to be fine. You will not continue to be as far down the chart when it comes to salary structure of elite pass rush ends as you are right now. So if it was Mike, if it was Brzezinski, if it was Rick, that's really not the point. The point is they have definitely tried to smooth things over a bit with him to make him understand that showing up for training camp is probably the best thing for all parties involved.
100%. He is not one who draws attention to himself. He doesn't enjoy the spotlight. But yeah, when you are now, the 20th or 21st highest paid edge rusher, I mean, yes, they know he needs to be taken care of. They took care of Adam Thielen with multiple years left in his contract. So even though Danielle signed an incredibly team-friendly contract, and it does have 3 years left in his deal, and he is coming off a season in which he didn't play, they realize they need to take care of one of their star players. He's as important to their 2021 success as almost anyone. Certainly not the quarterback, but when ranking, guys in terms of importance, when thinking about Zimmer and Spielman's future, when we talk 1 year from now, will Zimmer still be the Vikings coach? Will Rick Spielman still be the Vikings general manager? Danielle Hunter will have a lot to do with that this upcoming year. So, yeah, I foresee them taking care of him. Nothing is imminent. It might be August or late July, but, yeah, I think something will eventually happen.
Doogie, I'm just making a list here, just trying to figure out, all right, what's the current pool of Vikings offensive linemen? And so you got Rashad Hill, Brian O'Neill, Oli Udoh, sort of your tackle bin, Ezra Cleveland in your guard tackle bin, Garrett Bradbury is your starting center, Mason Cole, Dakota Dozier just re-signed, and Vikings Twitter exploded a couple days ago. Do you think that the 5-man starting offensive line is going to come out of the group that they currently have as of today, or do you think they still make a move? And by the way, they still have a first-round pick and they still have some money to spend in free agency. Or do you think there are still names out there via draft and free agency that could be starters along the offensive line this year?
100% the latter, Phil. The current 5 or current 8 or whatever they have under contract at the moment, mix and match those guys however you want. I don't see any of those 5 being the 5-man unit come week 1 in early September. So, yeah, whether it's the draft with 11 draft picks or it's still a free agent out there, a forced lamp type, we've talked about the idea of maybe kicking Brian O'Neill. You need to pay him anyway. By the way, on Brian O'Neill, no extension talks yet. So Brian O'Neill is entering the final year of his contract. The Vikings love him. They plan on taking care of him, but there haven't been any contractual extension talks quite yet. But they could shift. Judd brought this up a couple weeks ago, shifting Brian O'Neill over to left tackle. It's something they've kicked around internally going back a couple years, even though I know they love him at right tackle. But if you did that, then you could look at a Mitchell Schwartz type, sitting there at 14, especially now. It looks like for sure 5 quarterbacks go above 14. That will push a guy or 2 down if they don't want to move down from 14. Orlando Brown Jr. is still sitting there, right? I don't know if the Vikings are still heavily engaged on that front. I don't have a strong sense that they're talking daily with Baltimore, but as long as Orlando Brown Jr. is still sitting there and he hasn't been moved to, say, Jacksonville, that's yet another name. Now, he would be left tackle, and O'Neill then would stick at right tackle. But, yeah, they are going to do more. Now, I was curious if they were in on the Minnesota State Mankato product, Chris Reed. Decent interior offensive lineman, has starting experience. He is off this morning to the Indianapolis Colts. I am told the Vikings were not interested in Reed. They do look for, even though I think they're open-minded to a number of guys, I did have somebody tell me the other day that they really do focus on, and there's different ways to define this, but they really love length. However you want to define length. I mean, maybe it's wingspan, reach, but they love length with their interior offensive linemen. So when looking at, me, I'm Mr. Inner Football, but I'm just passing along. Don't kill the messenger here. I'm just passing along with somebody who is in the inner football circle told me that the Vikings are still heavily focusing on length with their interior offensive linemen more than the exterior guys, even though they love length with the left tackle and right tackle.
Boys, I want to float this out real quick here since we're talking football and we're dishing out inside information about our local sports teams. Tom Pelissero, I think, is at the Gopher Pro Day right now. Multiple scouts had Rashad Bateman just ran a 40. 4.39 40 for Rashad Bateman.
Well, you know what?
4.39 40.
Which is fantastic. The goal was 4.37 or less. So while he came incredibly close,
failure.
I think he would tell you.
XFL, here I come.
Now, he talked to us yesterday, so I don't know if he'll do anything today, although I may end up connecting with Rashad tomorrow on something separate, but I can bring that up if I do, that I know for sure because he put it out there where he was training. I think he's also an Exos guy down in Arizona that he put out there on social media a couple weeks ago that he ran a 4.37. Now, it's hard to really verify that when scouts weren't there, but I just know, I can tell you from somebody close to Rashad, the goal this morning was for him to run a 4.37 or less. But that being said, 4.39 is incredible. Now, he measured in shorter than I thought. Like the Gopher football website listed him for the last couple of years as 6'2". He came in at 6 feet and 3/8 inches. So he's shorter than I thought. He was listed at 200 and something pounds. He weighs in at 190 pounds. He is still a late first or early second round pick. He didn't hurt himself today, but with Jamar Chase of LSU putting on a show the other day, with the two Alabama kids, like, it's going to be hard for Bateman to jump over any of those three. The kid from Florida is really special. So I think he has a chance to be one of the top 5 or 6 receivers off the board. But that being said, like, if he's the 4th or 5th receiver off the board, that's like late first, early second. The Titans general manager, by the way, is on campus right now. So is the Packers general manager. Rick Spielman has not been spotted. 31 teams. 31. So 31 of the 32. The Rams haven't been going to many pro days. So the Rams, I'm told, are not there. But every other team has at least one scout over on campus right now.
So Bateman's short and slow. That's just great. Hey,
he's going to be good. And they used him different ways. It didn't always work in the, 4 or 5 games he played in 2020, but they lined him up inside. So he can play a little bit inside. He certainly can play outside. He is an elite route runner. I think Rashad Bateman is going to be a really good pro. Like, somebody is going to be incredibly happy with the Packers GM there. And Judd, I think I told you this when we recorded on Tuesday, the Tuesday scoop, that it's inevitable. The Packers are not skipping on taking a receiver like they did last year. The Packers are taking a receiver this year. I'd love to see Rashad Bateman in Green Bay.
On left tackle.
Reckless speculation.
So here's my working theory as far Dukes and Phil and Dex at that position, okay? I think they have at least 3 options that they are exploring. And one is definitely O'Neal going from the right side to the left side. And Dukes, it makes perfect sense that he is not engaged in contract talks yet, because if he's truly going to go and play left tackle in 2021, why would I sign for a right tackle payday? Like, I'm not going to sign a 5-year contract to be a good right tackle if I'm going to protect Kirk's blind side.
And his value, and his value, like, if he goes from right tackle to left tackle, his right tackle value is locked. Like, it's only added value to go left tackle for him, right?
100%.
Well, I mean, look at Orlando Brown Jr., right? I mean, he played left tackle, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, it's not like I do these.
He wants to play left tackle, but he played right tackle.
Well, yeah, he's a right tackle.
Yes,
and then shifted to left tackle when Ronnie Stanley went down. But I'm talking in Oklahoma in college.
Yep.
Orlando Brown Jr. was a left tackle, but yeah, he was a right tackle. But now, because he has good film on tape, from the end of last year when Stanley went down, if you're Orlando Brown Jr. and his agency, you're like, hey, this is a left tackle. You're going to have to pay him as a left tackle.
And that's the problem there. I think that the Vikings like him a lot, and I think that they would love to trade for him. And I think the actual terms of the trade are a decent possibility. But I think the problem is what Dukes just said, which is he's going to show up and say, I have to be paid like a good left tackle at this point. And there's probably going to be some trepidation, especially for a salary cap strapped team. The last one is a guy like Okung, who's still out there on the market and is sitting there, and he doesn't have to play for nothing, but he's not going to get a huge payday. So I really do think that when it comes to protecting Kirk Cousins' blind side, we're probably talking about multiple possibilities here, which is why it's not going to shock me if the possibility of O'Neal going from the right to left side does become the reality, because I don't know that the Vikings can afford to or will pay the people that they would have to if they brought in Okung or made the trade for Orlando Brown Jr. and then had to immediately give him a pretty sizable contract. Last point off of that, especially if they told Danielle Hunter they'll take care of him. Like, at some point in time, you can't pay everybody.
No, and I mean, they want Harrison Smith here long-term, too, as he enters the final year of his deal. Now, they could eventually rework his contract and lower his 2021 cap number, but talks haven't gone anywhere, and there haven't been any recent talks. There have been talks, but there haven't been any recent talks. Villanueva is another name, the former Steelers starting left tackle. He's another name that, put it this way, at this point in free agency, as the calendar now flips to April, we're at a point where a lot of agents are reaching out to the Vikings, right? So it's not the Vikings necessarily initiating talks. It's agents searching out teams that make logical sense for their clients to try to get their clients paid, right? To get them a job. So agents know that the Vikings still have a glaring need, specifically at left tackle. So I can promise you, go to whatever website you want to, Over the Cap or any website that lists all the free agent left tackles, the guys that are still on the board. I can promise you, look at all those names. The agents for those names have reached out to the Vikings.
Mm-hmm. All right, more scoops here in just a second. A quick shout out to Federated Mutual Insurance Company. So Federated, we thank them for being a longtime partner of Mackey and Judd and also Purple Daily. Federated has been very supportive of us over the years, and we would love it if local business owners would check out all the materials and resources that they have for you. They've been around since the early 1900s in Owatonna, Minnesota, and they help business owners with peace of mind and risk management. They have all kinds of tools and all kinds of expertise that can help your business reach another level of success. Find out more about also My Shield, which is recently launched and available to find more information about on federatedinsurance.com or the app. And remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours. Unless you have any other little Vikings nuggets, I personally am just very fascinated by Ben Johnson's first couple weeks in his role as Gophers coach. I love Doogs that he reportedly reached out to Chet Holmgren. I mean, Chet Holmgren's probably going to Gonzaga, and the more Gonzaga gets closer to a national title, like, it's just a great spot to vault into the NBA. But shoot your shot, man. So what else can you tell us about Ben Johnson's first couple weeks taking over for Richard Pitino?
Well, I'll get to Ben in a second, but let me add one more thing on the Vikings. So Kyle Trask, the Florida quarterback, had a good pro day yesterday. I'm told that there's mutual interest, put it that way. The Vikings have those 11 draft picks. I don't think they wait until the 7th round again to take a quarterback. I think they end up taking a quarterback higher than that. Now,
by the way, I just real quick.
Yeah.
Zimmer basically told Zimmer can't help himself. Yesterday, he was asked about the backup quarterbacks, and he's like, Mannion, I love Mannion, and I love the other two guys that I don't even know their names, but I see him at practice once in a while. He goes, without telling you guys, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, without telling you guys what's going to happen, there are other options, which is his way of saying, we're going to draft a quarterback.
Yeah, and I think they do, and he's just one of a handful of names. I mean, it was either Janoko or Clint Kubiak at Texas A&M Pro Day the other day for Kellen Mond. There's a kid from Wake Forest, Newman. There's a bunch of guys. There's a kid from Stanford. Those are all names to do some homework on. In fact, I'm connecting with, remember the name J.T. O'Sullivan?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Great long hair.
Yeah, so he's a high school coach in the San Diego area, but he does YouTube clips. He does breakdowns.
He's
of
got
these
a
prospects.
great YouTube channel. Yes.
Yeah, so anyway, I'm connecting with JT for a conversation on Monday for that very reason. I just want to hear his insight, his thoughts on the Florida quarterback, on the Stanford quarterback, on the Texas A&M quarterback, on the Wake Forest quarterback, because I do think, and there's more than that. Those are just ones top of my head. But I do think it's realistic to think with 11 draft picks that the Vikings, at some point, middle rounds, are going to take a quarterback.
I love it.
Go for hoops.
Yeah, let's do Gophs.
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
on Go for Hoops, I'm with you, Phil. I mean, shoot your shot, right? Yeah, I don't foresee him landing Chet Holmgren. It's just, put it this way. So there's a kid named Joe Hurlburt from Enderlin, North Dakota. And Pitino had been working him pretty good, or one of Pitino's assistants. The Gophers had a decent chance, but Colorado offered him first. This was like 2 years ago. Earlier this week, Joe committed to Colorado. Now, Ben Johnson tried. Ben Johnson reached out to Joe, but impossible to make up 2 years worth of ground in one long phone conversation. So Ben wasn't surprised that Joe committed elsewhere. So it's really hard to make up ground in this short a window. But yeah, go ahead and try on Chet. He looked fantastic yesterday. Minnehaha Academy moving on to next week's 3A semifinals. They beat Byron. Byron High School, south of here, has a kid by the name of Ajani Lee, stud junior. Ben Johnson has connected with him. He has a Gophers offer. He also has a Kansas offer. Ben has been on the phone so much. He's talked to Race Thompson multiple times. Parker Fox, the Matamidi kid, now has a Gophers offer. Ohio State and Creighton also want him, but I think the Gophers have a decent chance to land the big-time Division II transfer from Northern State. He landed Jamison Battle earlier this week. He's been talking to Ish El-Amin, that's Khalid El-Amin's son, who played at Hopkins High School. There's other 2022 kids he's talked to. Cam Heidi of Wyzetta, Trey Holloman of Cretin-Derham Hall. Ben Johnson has taken a lot of phone calls from ex-Gophers. Kevin McHale. Dan Munson, his former coach, reached out to him. I'm told Richard Pitino has been an excellent resource so far for Ben Johnson. They have had multiple conversations. Who else? Did I mention Bobby Jackson and Kevin McHale and Ryan Saunders and J.B. Bickerstaff and Michael Thompson and Blake Hoffarber and Daniel Oturu and Richard Coffey and Amir Coffey and Townsend Orr? The list is endless. Like, I could sit here for 3 minutes spewing off former Gophers names who have connected with Ben Johnson, who really feel galvanized by this hire. By the way,
I'll give you one more. Ariel McDonald and I talked to. He speaks very highly of Ben Johnson as well. So add another.
There's a
name
lot
to
of
the list.
people willing to do whatever they can, obviously within the rules, but whatever they can do to help Ben, that they are going to help him. I think we'll have some news, at least some news on his staff here pretty quick. Dave Thorson, his high school coach at De La Salle, assistant coach at Colorado State. Dave is certainly a name to keep an eye on.
Hey, Dukes, on Ben and Pitino, how did that end? Because I think that if you're a Gopher fan or watched the team when Ben was an assistant on Richard's staff, you certainly recall Richard seeming to take out his frustrations on Ben quite a bit, and then Ben left. Did that end okay, or was there some animosity there by the time that Ben took off for Xavier, right?
Yeah, he went to Xavier. Yeah. That's a good question, Judd. So if you want to ding him, Declan, that's a really good question by Judd. I'll say this, Judd, that Ben has thick skin, but Richard is not the easiest guy to work for.
Right.
I mean, there's some dictatorship there. I'll also say this much, though. Ben left more so than any other reason because he felt like if you go back the last 20 years, if you look at the associate head coach at Xavier, that guy has gone on to be a head coach. Just go back, look at the list of names. I mean, their current head coach, Coach Steele, was the associate coach there, right? Just go back. I'm just telling you, if somebody wants to do it, go look at Xavier's coaching staffs from like the mid-90s on. Look at their number one assistant, and then look where that guy eventually landed. Like, those guys end up being head coaches. There was a better chance for Ben to leap up to being a head coach, being at Xavier, than being here at Minnesota. Now, maybe that's more perception, but hey, it turned into reality because, hey, Richard Pitino has a decent little coaching tree, right? Like Dan McHale left here at Minnesota. He got the head coaching job at Eastern Kentucky. He got fired, and now he's on Pitino's staff in Albuquerque at New Mexico. Ed Conroy. So Ed Conroy, he comes, right? That's Liam Robbins' uncle. Ed Conroy's in the mix to be the Utah State head coach. Now, here's the connection on that. The Utah State athletic director and Ed played college basketball together at the Citadel. I was told they were even roommates. So not only college teammates, but the Utah State athletic director and Ed Conroy for like 30 years had been this close. And for those just listening, not watching the YouTube feed, I've got my hands locked together. I mean,
very close.
Doogie's hugging himself shirtless.
Yeah,
right
they
now.
are. They are the best of friends. So
inseparable.
Ed has a chance to get the Utah State job. Like I thought. What about Tim Miles? Has Mountain West experience, but Tim Miles isn't even in the mix for that job. So that could be another assistant coach under Pitino that ends up being a head coach. Although Ed was the head coach at the Citadel and at Tulane going back a bunch of years. But the interesting part on Ed is, if he gets the Utah State job, what happens with Liam Robbins? Does Liam leave the Big Ten to go play in the Mountain West? That obviously is a step down. But his uncle is his guy. Liam didn't come here because of Richard Pitino. Liam came here because of his uncle, Ed Conroy. So that would be a situation to keep an eye on. But if you're Liam, and I can tell you this from NBA scouts, they view Liam as an NBA player. Maybe not a lottery pick or anything like that. Maybe not a first-round pick, but that he has an NBA future. So if you're Liam and you have an NBA future, do you really leave the Big Ten for the Mountain West? But I'm just telling you, that's a situation worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah.